wake up early and come starting your day off with prayer. I know something you certainly don't want to be, but if we're not careful, these things that the Lord warns us about, that the Bible tells us of, can sneak into our lives. And so here's one thing. We don't want to have a stony heart. We don't want to be stiff-necked, and we don't want to be lukewarm. Those are three things that the Lord cautions believers against in the Bible. You know, and rebukes them for it. One time he rebukes Israel for this and says, "You're stiff-necked people." And other times, you know, he warns about being having a stony heart or having a hardened heart. And he offers and says, "If you come to me, I'll remove that stony heart and give you a heart of flesh." And I think the only time King James ever refers in a positive way to anything about flesh, but he says, I'll take that hard heart, that stony heart, and give you a heart of flesh, a tender heart that can love, that can receive wisdom, that can have compassion for others. And then in the Bible it says you're lukewarm. He warns about being lukewarm in to one of the churches in the book of Revelations, when he's telling the churches how they need to get back right. And so those are three types of Christians that we don't want to be. We don't want to have a stony heart. We don't want to be stiff-necked, and we don't want to be lukewarm, because having a stony heart means you are selfish. You're just concerned about yourself. You're looking, how can I succeed? How can I achieve? How can I take care of myself and my loved ones? And it's a stony heart. It's a hard heart. It's an uncompassionate heart. And we don't want to have that. We need to be loving. We need to be caring. I tell those stories sometimes where I was, not very long ago, I was mowing my lawn, and the Lord challenged me. And I was going through, listening to the scriptures, and to consider the lilies of the field. They toil not, neither they sow, all these things, the birds of the air, and you know, they don't store up, but yet they always have food. God takes care of them. And he said, "That's how I want you to be, Mike." I can hear the Lord speaking to me. "That's how I want you to be, Mike," in my heart, you know. And I said, "Yeah." So I pushed back on him in that moment and said, "Sure, Lord, but you know, the birds, the animals and stuff, they don't have a conscious mind. They operate on subconscious. They aren't able to plan for their future. They aren't able to do all things I can. Surely you expect more from me because I have a conscious mind." And then he pushed back on my pushback and said, "I did not give you a conscious mind so that you would take my job. I gave you a conscious mind so that you would do what I do. And what I do is look out for others and take care of others. I gave you a conscious mind so that you would love on others the way I love on you." And I said, "Oh, wow. I've been trying to use my gifts. I've been trying to use my abilities to take care of myself, when really, if I'm walking by faith, what walking by faith is knowing, okay, God's got me. I'm in his hands. He's going to provide for me. So I can stop focusing on me if I truly have faith and focus on others." And that did a lot for me that day. And I've been trying to live up to that ever since. If I'm truly walking by faith, I shouldn't be concerned about myself. I should be loving on other people. And so that's what it is to have that heart of flesh. And I pray this all, Lord, remove that stony heart. Give me a heart of flesh. Let me focus on others and not myself. And then stiff-necked, it speaks to being proud. It speaks to like, okay, nobody can teach me any better. Nobody can give me advice. Nobody can tell me right or wrong. And a stiff-necked people, like the Bible's talking about, is a people that's impossible to lead. And I don't want to be a person who's impossible to lead. I want the Lord to be able to lead me, to steer me, to course correct, to cause me to change directions as often, as frequently as he wants to. That's what it is to truly be following the shepherd. And you know what? Sometimes that shepherd comes in the form of other human beings. And that really takes humility to say, okay, Lord, what are you saying to me? And then it's going to come in the form of a man. It's the Lord chose the foolishness of preaching to save the lost. And so if you want to be found, if you want to find, sometimes we might not lose our salvation, but we lose our way in the game of life. We lose our way in our direction in life. And so we need to get found, and we need to, we need to find the right direction again. And the way that comes is from another human being. If you can humble yourself and say, okay, you tell me what the Lord is saying for me. You give me some advice or direction. Speak some words of wisdom into me. And if you're stiff-necked, you can't receive that. You can't receive that. It's like, no, I know what the Lord told me, and that's it. I'm just going to sit here and wait for God to open the doors. And that's stiff-necked. Don't do that. Don't be that way. Let him speak to you, and let him speak to you through other people. And it seems foolish for another peer to have to educate you on things, and especially when you've been reading the Bible your whole life. You've been following the Lord for a long period of time. Oh, but I promise you, the Lord moves through those acts of humility when you humble yourself before the Lord, when you humble yourself before the people of God and say, okay, I'm not in a good place right now. You tell me about this. I'm too close to this subject. I'm too emotional about this. You give me some wisdom in this direction. That's what's so good about life groups. That's what's so good about having people of God walking with you and doing life with you. You can lean on them for that. And that's how the Lord will always speak to us, in ways where you can stay humble and where you can stay loving. And then the other thing, and then we're going to pray, is a lukewarm. He says, I see what's going on here. The Lord speaking to the churches in Revelations 3, it says, and you're lukewarm. You're lukewarm. It says, I wish you was either hot or cold. It says, but not because you're lukewarm, I just want to spit you out of my mouth. And listen, I don't want the Lord to spit me out of his mouth. Now, what lukewarm is, that speaks to lack of passion. And you don't ever want to have a lack of passion as a Christian. You don't ever lose that fire, that desire to spread the good news of Jesus. You don't ever want to lose that hunger that says, you know what, there are people around me today that still don't believe in Jesus. There are people around us, and sometimes it's harder to see that when you're living down in the South than if you travel up north a little bit. But down in the South, it seems like everybody you grew up with at least believes in God and believes in Jesus. And so we can easily kind of forget that there's a great big world out there. And even today, you'd be surprised how many people don't really live a life of faith. And so we cannot lose that passion. We got to let the Lord keep us on fire about that. Say, Lord, if I ever just forget how dire this job, this mission is that you put me on, just reignite my fire so that I can begin again spreading the gospel, spreading the good news.